That was the last time in a long time Abigail heard from Emmanuel. She could not believe he would not even come to visit her when she gave birth. It was like he vanished without a trace. She had stopped asking Mrs. Komalafe about him since she had already deduced the woman did not like her at all. She had brought all of the church people, many of whom whispered that her child was a bastard. They also asked about Emmanuel snootily. Finally, the brother to me had come. "I am glad brother Emmanuel finally left you," she said like a saint. Abigail wondered when she began adding the brother in front of his name. She never gave him much prestige before. It was like nothing in her eyes. Something must have raised his prestige in her eyes. No, it did not. He would be back. He barely traveled. Abigail lied. She had no idea where Emmanuel had gone, and it hurt her deeply. She would go search for him as soon as she was able to leave the hospital. He could not just leave her like that. She would not let him. She would beg him with all of her life. She would make it up to him. She knew she deserved his anger, but still, they were married. They were a couple. "I know you are stupid and gullible, but even I am not allowed to tell you. I and Emmanuel will be walking down the aisle as soon as he gets back," the brother crowed. Abigail's eyes flashed, anger burning through them. "He is married to me." "Your marriage is fake. It was based on lies. Are you in a relationship with Pastor Andrew?" Abigail scoffed. The brother shook her head. "I broke things off. I want a man, a real man, like brother Emmanuel, who has a big heart, a good job, and a very loving personality. Plus, he had his eyes on me for 3 years. That is something. He had eyes on me ever since he was a boy. I knew him before he became blind, and that boy loved me. He only thought I was out of reach, and that was why he came for you," Abigail corrected. The brother smirked. "Watch and see." She rolled her eyes and left the room. Abigail was exhausted by the presence of the lady. She did not know how Jeremy knew what hospital she was in, but he showed up alongside his parents, who demanded to see her baby. She vehemently refused them permission. The baby was Emmanuel's. It had taken the hospital staff commanding them out of her ward for her to calm down. Their son had denied the pregnancy, had humiliated her, and yet they were being braggy, saying they had rights. No way. Their presence had made her demand that she be discharged. The doctor, seeing she and her baby were in perfect condition, saw no reason to hold her back any further. She quickly left and moved into the apartments the pastor said Emmanuel had furnished for her, and how tastefully he had done it. It was exquisite. He had even left her his ATM card. Abigail questioned them on his whereabouts, but they would not answer her. She visited his house, but it was locked down. She visited several times of the day, but nothing happened. Exhausted, she finally went to the church. They were hiding Emmanuel from her. She needed to beg for his forgiveness. She should not have been clinging to him as she was, but she could not let go. A man like him was rare. She did not want to lose him. Eyes followed her as she entered the church. She was greeted by people who wanted to see her baby. Many of them had visited her with gifts. After church service, she positioned herself in Pastor Komalafe's office. She knew he would come there to attend to people. Immediately he entered, he froze at the sight of her. "Abigail, what are you doing here?" She stood up and faced him. Thankfully, her baby was asleep. "I want to see Emmanuel. I need to know where he went. If he left to avoid me, then I need to hear it directly from his mouth." "Didn't my wife?" "Unless you want me to scream at your wife, do not send me to your wife. She had been playing me like a ball for a very long time, and I do not like it. This is my husband we are talking about, for goodness sake. How could he just disappear? I know I did wrong. I do, but I need him to forgive me," she cried, wanting to make more of an impression on him. She knelt down. The pastor signed. "Get up. You see, Emmanuel will be back very soon. That I can promise you. To be fair, I was part of the bandwagon that did not want anyone telling you his whereabouts. But I see you might love him more deeply than we thought. But then again, who are we to judge the affairs of another married couple? What God has joined together, why should we be the one to put asunder? He's coming back." "When?" she asked, getting up on her feet. "Very soon." The pastor smiled at her before he began making small talk. "How is your baby?" She answered him as much as she could before leaving his office. She met Pastor Andrew by the door, and judging by his gaunt face, it must have been the effect of Deborah's betrayal a little too strongly. He kept his head down as she passed him. She did not have the time to wonder about other people. She was content. Emmanuel would be back soon, and she could show him just how much she repented of her sins. She would even suggest they go back to Inewi to confess openly, so that people can change their opinion of him. He was a good man, one who was rare to find. Barely a week after her visit to Pastor Komalafe, Abigail had a knock on her door. Her baby was crying incessantly, and the house was a mess. She nearly broke down. This was where she needed her mother. But Abigail knew she had severed that relationship for life. She was in this alone. She looked horrible. She had begun searching for a job, but no one wanted her since she would be distracted by her baby. It was a lot since she did not want to go far away, yet she had nearly exhausted all of her options. She wondered if she would not resort to lower jobs. She did not want to rely fully on the money Emmanuel had given her. After putting a pacifier in her son's mouth, she straightened her shirt and walked to the door. She screamed out loud at the sight before her. She dragged him into the house, hugging him tightly. It smelled fresh. She had always loved the smell of it. She could not believe she was holding him in the flesh. "Where did you go?" she cried on his shirt. He was taller than she was, and her head was only able to rest on his chest. His hand came to caress her hair. She shied away from him, suddenly self-conscious of the state of her body and her house. She was a mess. "I traveled." She could not help the tears that came to her eyes. "Did you hate me that much, that you had to hide away from me? You know I do not hate you. I never did. I thought I could stay away, but I definitely could not. I thought..." "Stop thinking and ask questions," she snapped at him. She collected his skin and led him towards the only available chair, unoccupied by baby things. He turned to look at the floor and the mess. Abigail could feel his eyes roam about. She shifted his head to look at her. She wiped her hand over his eyes. He did not blink. "What is it?" he asked calmly. "Are your eyes paining you?" she asked. "No, I do not feel anything from it," he replied casually. She sighed. She sat on his lap and put her hand around his neck. Her son chose that moment to scream. She looked up at him, exhausted, and was glad when he lay there without further noise. "Do you want to touch him?" she asked suddenly. "Yes, but before that, aren't you curious about where I was?" "I am, but as long as he came back to me, I am satisfied." "Even if I am blind and cannot be like other men?" he asked, a little unsure of himself. She sat upright immediately. She touched his shoulder. "What is that supposed to mean? I do not want all of those men. Jeremy came to the hospital, you know. I told the nurse to inform security not to allow them into my ward. I left the next day. What use do I have for a man who cannot stand by me? Are you with me because I stood by you?" "I am with you because you love me," she clarified. "My condition does not bother you?" he asked, hope-filled. "No, it does not. You are the one for me." She kissed his cheek. He was so overwhelmed with how beautiful she looked. He could tell the reason why men were always hovering around her. Abigail was gorgeous, her skin shining. She looked tired due to caring for the baby, and she seemed uncomfortable. He devoured the rest of her with his eyes when she was not looking. He could not believe such a woman was in love with him. "Do not leave me like that again. I know I hurt you, but I also know you never believed you were the father of my child in the first place." He chuckled. "Yes, but you did sleep with me that night. Do you not remember?" His eyes rolled again. Movement signified in them. She panicked. "Are you okay? Your eyes keep moving." "Nothing," he replied immediately, turning away from her. Her hand on his neck brought him back to the present. "I am sorry I drugged you and lied against you. Please forgive me. If I did not forgive you, I would not have married you." She looked up at him. It felt like he was staring deep into her soul, like he could see all of her. "I do not deserve your forgiveness. I was not even your main target. Pastor Komolafe told me you wanted to rope in James. But God does work in mysterious ways. If you had pinned it on James, nothing would have happened. James can barely even support himself. I am in charge of paying him support every month. And regardless, I needed a wife. And you needed someone to love you genuinely. And it so happens that I have so much love to give." Her tears burst forth as she buried her head in his chest and poured it out. He let her cry, but the removal of the pacifier from the baby's mouth made him cry out, breaking the moment. She was perplexed when Emmanuel carried her from his lap and placed her beside him so he could get up. She rushed to give him his walking stick. He was not familiar with her house, but he crossed the pile of blankets on the floor, maneuvered his way around the center table, and got to her baby in his sleeping cot. He reached inside and carried the baby to his chest. She stood dumbfounded, staring at him. The dark pupils of his eyes rested on her again. She froze. They never moved before. His eyes, though colored, seemed to have life in them. That was when she noticed his eyeglasses were on his shirt, and he did not have them on. "What is going on here?" He crossed over to her once more, avoiding all the debris. "Do not be shocked." "What do you mean I should not be shocked?" she shouted, fear and hope blossoming in her chest. You can see? You can see? Since when?" "I never had an accident. I fought with Jeremy that day in the restaurant, and I landed in the hospital. How dare he lay a hand on you?" she fired up. He held her with one hand while he supported the baby with the other. "I got to the hospital, and tests taken showed that I could do the surgery my parents had been too poor to do when I was younger. I needed 35 million, and I had to do it outside the country." She gasped. "That is a lot of money. Where did you find it?" "The church." Pastor and Mrs. Komolafe called some church elders who could afford it, and they all contributed. In fact, The money needed was more than 35, but they never complained and they assisted me. The church practically gave me a new life. She said sadly, "You did not tell me. She would not let me see you. I thought you left because you were hungry I used you. I did not tell you because I needed to be sure you were with me because you love me, rather than because you just needed a place to stay." She signed, "I deserve that. I was so desperate. I am not blaming you, and I do not want you to look bad on yourself. I needed to know if you would agree to stay with me, regardless of being blind. You know I will. All of those men, none ever treated me like a princess the way you do. If I lost you, I would be a fool for the rest of my life," she cried. "You are not a fool, and you are very beautiful," he stated. "What about your parents? They will never accept me. I have been to Anambra before I came here. I told them what I thought of their actions and that when I married you, I choose you, and they will not be the ones to dictate that for me. Do they know you can see?" Yes. They were not shocked. My parents always knew money was what stopped my eyesight. They just refused to beg for it. They thanked Pastor Komolafe. She nodded. "I can be your wife now." He nodded. He leaned in to kiss her, but she backed up suddenly. I am not that clean. I have not even taken my bath this morning." He chuckled. He watched as she ran forward and backward until she went into the restroom, leaving him with the baby. It dawned on him that it perhaps never really mattered to her if he could see or not. She had always considered him a part of her life. He smiled. Just a year ago, he was lonely, starved of love, and wanting a woman to stand by him. But here he was, with a wife and a child and the happiness of a home. God was indeed faithful, and his ways are not the ways of man. Epilogue. Emmanuel was happily welcomed by the church. When the pastor announced it, everyone was screaming and shouting as people ran up to him. Emmanuel almost felt smothered. Several women began dancing left, right, and center as they hugged him, pulled him here and there. Abigail, with her baby, was also there, smiling sheepishly. Things were looking good for her. She had resumed her studies at an open university that would give her time to sit to her child and also learn. Emmanuel had bluntly refused her getting another job. He claimed the last one had been stressful enough, but she did not want to be a freeloader. After a week at the new job, schoolwork, and her child, she knew she could not join the three. She had agreed with him that she would go back to work as soon as her son could attend crèche. She would not put all of the financial burden on him like she had in the past, even though she knew he would never complain. She was lucky to have him. She truly was. The pastor continued by also announcing that his suspension was unjust and that things had been cleared up. He was not supposed to have gone on that suspension, so the church was formally apologizing to him. Abigail paled, wondering if the pastor would go into details, but he did not. He only directed the people's attention back to the fact that Brother Emmanuel Peters could now see after his successful surgery, and everyone began dancing and screaming again, shouting, "What God cannot do does not exist." That pretty much summed up what they did in church that day. The pastor could not get the people to calm down. They were dancing and singing throughout. The pastor later stylishly did the closing prayer. Emmanuel was also not allowed to rest. He was placed at the center of the dancing and singing. He was a very good singer. She watched him shine, happiness radiating off her. He was splendid. She wondered how she had gotten so lucky to have him for a husband. She had been drumming up ways they could live protectively and be at peace from outsiders as regards to him being blind, but he had beaten her to it, or God had, by giving him his eyesight back. She was still smiling sheepishly when she saw Deborah Fautimi walk up to him and begin dancing in front of him. Jealousy stewed inside Abigail. That leash. She was about to start cursing her out when she heard her name. Emmanuel was calling her to come on stage. She shook her head, not wanting to go up, but she knew she could not deny him. He was so handsome, his dressing immaculate. She had had some very expensive clothing, made specially for this day. They all wore the same material. Mrs. Mary walked up to her and collected her baby from her, putting him on her waist. The other women pushed her forward. Emmanuel avoided Deborah's shaking body and walked up to her. He led her up to the stage, picked up a microphone, and handed it to her. They sang and danced to their heart's content. Abigail did not even notice Deborah's scold, or when she descended from the stage, carried her bag and walked home angrily. She did not even remember to enter the air-conditioned car her parents had bought specifically for her. By the time Emmanuel was persuaded to drop the mic, it was almost evening. Abigail went to feed her baby, and the couple were now about ordering an Uber to go home when Pastor and Mrs. Komolafe walked up to them, smiling. "I can see you two are divinely suited to be with each other," Mrs. Komolafe said. Abigail stiffened at the sight of the woman and moved closer to her husband, who put a hand on her shoulder. "Do not be scared of me. I just wanted to see if you would stay or run. I could not let him be with someone who did not love him genuinely. I am not going to apologize for my actions, but I do plan on making amends." You do not have to apologize to us. You have helped us tremendously. Emmanuel spoke up. My wife and I have decided to give you a car. You see, someone gave us a new car last week, and neither of us needs it at the moment. Abigail screamed. Emmanuel just sighed and said, Thank you, sir. His happiness could be seen written all over his face. He had worn his eyeglasses again, although these were less dark. Abigail rushed to the pastor's wife and hugged her, crying. Their son, whom she had named Emmanuel Jr., began crying vehemently from the way his mother was juggling him about. She soon calmed down when his screams had reached the highest pitch. Laughing, the pastor's wife collected the boy while they walked to the new car. Since neither knew how to drive, driving lessons were in order. The pastor left the two alone. Aya was called up to drive the car home. He was happy for them, but soon began grumbling about being out of a job. Emmanuel told him he would get him a new one. Happily, he hugged his wife, whispering in his ear, Do you see the good you brought to me? In less than 2 years, I have regained my sight, and I have a car and a home. I have a child and a wife. I have found a good thing. That was all because you were reckless with me. What? Your love for me? Abigail said. Your love for me? It was reckless. No one loves like that. You did not even think I could hurt you or choose to go away. I hurt you so many times, yet you did not give up on me. And he blessed me for it, Emmanuel said. Now, I can start my own school of music for the blind. I can do all I want to do. It will be all easier. Mrs. Mary even told me today that if I want to start, she would love to invest in the company. She stopped me from talking further as she kissed him, glad they were home and her baby was sleeping. Abigail got down to the task of showing Emmanuel just how lucky and loved he was. The end. Thank you for watching from the beginning to the end. Thank you. If you want more stories like this, kindly subscribe. Please subscribe. Thank you.